I was like, I'm just going to go big and like cock my hip and go, is she a queen or is she a with a dragon? Or is she a with a dragon? And I went so big, and they used it.
I am intrigued by Ormund because the first few times we meet him, he's getting pretty bad news. And it does not seem to faze him in the slightest.
One king is as good as another.
What can you tell me about what does matter to him and when we might find that out this season?
That's very interesting. Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting that you say that, or you've picked up on that, because actually he's incredibly vulnerable to being phased. I mean, he walks a tightrope all the time. In terms of like sweating the small stuff, like, you know, if someone puts mud on his beautifully clean boots, or someone, you know, smells in a way which is objectionable to him, he will be very phased. And I think you've seen that in episode 4. Like, he has a temper, and it lives right here. And Daron, more than anyone, knows that, and has probably been the victim of that. But yet, as you say, there is a kind of tenacity and a stoicism and a strategic mind, which he is the best. He is superior to all Rhaenyra and Daemon, and all, particularly Targaryens, but also I think probably his fellow Hightowers. Like, he is so self-assured and has such conviction in his cause and the claim to the throne, the Hightower claim. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'd sort of thought of him, most of the conversations I've had today about how prone he is to losing his shit. But you're right, like he deals with a lot in those first 3 episodes, and he doesn't seem to kind of waver. What does faze him? I mean, ultimately, the fanaticism that he has around the superiority of the Hightower lineage over the Targaryens, and the, you know, the fact that he's willing to talk about Daeron's Targaryen blood being tainted, and this sort of savagery which exists in the Targaryens. That conviction, and if that cause, which he believes in, is such a virtuous cause, is such an honourable cause to put a Hightower on the Iron Throne, if he doesn't achieve that, then I think that's his North Star. You know, he so fervently believes in that cause, and that is his engine and is his strength, because he believes that he's on the just path. But it's dangerous, because it will, you know, he will fight for that tooth and nail against all the odds. So it's, yeah. Sets us up for a fraught old time.
How much of his kind of confidence is in the fact that he knows he has Daron, and he knows he has a dragon in literally like in the back pocket, right? Do you think that kind of supersedes any kind of ring he might have had he not had that when Daemon came calling?
It's interesting, like the dragon he has is very young, very small in comparison to, you know, literal army of dragons. I mean, you're right though, that it does obviously give him immense confidence. He's not an idiot. Like, there's a conviction there's a superiority, but he also is terrified of dragons. You know, you see that in episode 4 when he flinches. He has a weird, complicated, conflicting relationship with them, where he thinks of himself as superior, they are savagery and beasts, and yet he knows also physical inferiority he has. The fact that he goes and houses himself in Tumbleton using women and children as human shields is also an evidence of his like acknowledgement of the vulnerable position that he finds himself in, and how he needs to adapt, and also like yes, he has this North Star, this just cause, but he's also using deeply dishonorable tactics, like, you know, to use those innocent people and those innocent bystanders as shields. I mean, you'll see it gets dark, like the way his strategies and his tactics, and so again, testament to his acknowledgement of his vulnerability. But I think confidence is in the conviction he has, in the kind of just, honourable conviction, and that will carry him, because he believes his is the just fight.
I wanted to talk to you about the scene in the bath where he, you know, this man carries himself in a way that is like, I will do what I want when I want, and everyone else can just do whatever. Takes his time putting on his robe. I'm wondering how much of that was in the script, how much of that was kind of coming from choices you were making in the scene.
It was a really interesting scene. We discussed beforehand how far to push it, and I sort of, you know, coming into the show at a later stage, you have the benefit of being able to see and feel the tone, and this show is epic and muscular and you know, terrifying and playful and fun and irreverent, and it has both, and that's why I think this show is so great, because it has been all the way back to the beginning of Thrones. That scene was a perfect example of speaking to Ryan and the writers and the directors and saying like, can we go? That was my first opportunity to like go. Let's go big. Let's see how big a swing we can take here. And we kind of kept getting bigger and bigger as we got out of the bath and like delaying the towel longer and longer. And we were playing, and it was a collaborative journey. And I remember like I was like, I'm just gonna go big and like cock my hip and go, is she a queen or is she a with a dragon, or is she a with a dragon? And I went so big, and they used it, and they went with it, and I'm like, I'm so in awe, and I'm in admiration of those, Ryan and the others, because I would not have gone that big where I didn't trust the show, I didn't trust the people involved, because if you do go big, you can put yourself in a very vulnerable position as an actor. You come to watch the show or the edit at the end, the final cut, you're like, oh my God, they've really twisted what I gave them, and they've manipulated it, and so if you go big, you're making yourself vulnerable. I went big, they used it, it worked, it paid off. So yeah,
it was so good.
It was really fun.
It's so good.
Yeah, it was playful. We had a lot of fun that day.
This show is rife with these men going into battle and having like full-on accoutrements of home. That said, I think Ormund's snifter is possibly the fussiest thing we've ever seen on a battlefield or like in a field campaign. Talk to me about what you think his favorite scent is and what you think the scent that bothers him the most might be.
There's a scene, I don't think it's in 4, I think it's later on, when I am tasked with filling the pomander myself. And again, testament to the show, I had like multiple options of apparatus, smells, herbs, spices. Like they're so diligent on this show, and so I chose my kind of tray of stuff, and then in the scene I was able to like hit with the pestle and mortar, crush up dried thyme and lavender and all these spices. I mean, it was genuine. All the things were real. It was incredible, and then fill the little thing up. Obviously, daily they weren't able to do that because the thing actually was more sort of solid because it required to be when I was moving around. But again, the detail, the layers of kind of commitment. The props department would spray it with lavender oil every day. So whenever I'm smelling that thing, I am getting the most beautiful lavender aroma. So I guess in my head, I associate lavender with Ormund, which feels kind of floral, theatrical. It feels appropriate, and also it was what I was smelling every single day, and it was partly what I was crushing up in that pestle and mortar. In terms of what it is that he hates, I mean, there is a moment later on in the series where there is a very visceral reaction to something specific, and I think that it speaks to the scene, again, also in that very first time we meet Ormund, when the messenger arrives with the message from Alicent, and I think anything bodily, sort of male body, anything kind of sort of that bad personal hygiene, I guess, really triggers him. I mean, it's evident in a couple of scenes, and personally, I can identify with that. I am not great with bad smells.
I was going to say, I live in New York City in the subway in the summer. You can say less. I
yeah.
fully understand.
I have a thing.